Hey people, I've been reading in the Song of Solomon 7, and it's 13 lines. Every line is of sexual nature. And these last two, they're out of order. I was having a hard time with some of the words at the beginning, and so I had to go read the end before I could figure out the beginning. So it really doesn't matter which order you watch them in, but this is the first couple lines, and this is the last. So if you haven't seen any of these last two in this series, you're going to hate this. And I said that I probably wouldn't do a movie on the other lines, but I was going to read it anyway. And I see it's very educational. And Sonia said, let it rip. And, that was all the courage a man needed, to encourage him in. And so this is how I find trusted sources. I find some stuff that nobody else would know. Like it is purple. This is a K-A-A-R. The courage in A-M-N. Encourage him in. And they give it the meaning purple because there's actual times when this word comes up and it's argon. You see it here in 2nd Chronicles, it's spelled U-V of, and then A-R-G-U-N, argon, purple. And so somehow, 5,000 years ago, they knew that if you run electricity through argon, that it turns purple. And so that's where they get this purple from. And so I Googled, what does the color purple represent? And everybody come up with the same answers: wisdom, creativity, royalty, power, ambition, luxury. And they all come up with the same thing, except this one over here, the purple store. They knew that bravery goes right up there on the top. Courage and bravery, represented by purple. And this noble comes from being their noble. And so the noble gases, they have a full outer shell of electrons, and so they're non-reactant. That's what noble means, is non-reactant. It means you can tell them anything and you're not going to get a reaction. So I've been reading this with the upper markings. What that means, I ignore all these lower vowel points unless it has a marker inside the letter here, and then I pick up the O underneath, and that turns this into Cockermill, K-O-K-O-R-M, and then the upper marking I-L, Cockermill. And all these words they put in the parentheses, these are words that's just not there, and they had to give it to make sense out of what they're trying to force over it. And I often forget the little marks up top, and they mean to come back and read this again. And so on the second time through, I ignore all the vowel points. And so where this says, O-L-I-K, and then I, the little dots inside that K, a licky. And so I would come back and read it again, this L-I-K, a lick. And I don't read the vowel points, but the markup here tells me 2 Ks. So I'm reading that a licky and lick, L-I-C-K. 2 Ks or a C-K, a licky lick. And that's what this whole thing's been talking about, is licking pussy. So we're going to learn some of the ancient Hebrew names for parts of a vagina. And so he's starting up here at the top, and he ends up at the bottom. And that's what this word here was saying, from hupaya pupomic, from the ghost, from the spirit of the poop, and then omic is everything in that area, everything in the area of the poop, the beautiful banali butt, the beautiful butt. And so this is rose. They almost got this right, except put an I at the end. It's the rose. Little dot above the A here says, they're reading it, says a O. And it's rose, and then the E is coming from the point here. It tells me to pick up this E here. And it's the rose a key. The rose here a licky lick. And so I used to know this old Sicilian girl. She was evil mafia. She done married in a mafia family, but she was so proud of her rose. And she had a little bitty pussy, and it just looked like a little bitty rosebud coming out. And the rose here, a licky lick. This is the place. The cocker mill. And so, a mill, a M-I-L, is a place where the grinding goes on. The cocker mill, the place where the cock does its grinding. And Dalit, every other time Dalit comes up, they say it means a door. And that was in every ancient language in the world. The Dalit meant the door. To move in, out, to give birth, the door. Rose here, a licky lick cockermill. And door, rose here, rose a key, rose here, courage 'em in, to encourage 'em in from the licky as where beretum, the M is from, the beretta from. And so beretta coming from the old Italian beretta, Latin burris, a hooded cape. And so this is the rosebud, and this is the hood. The rose is here, and a little hood over the top of it. And so Hupayapupamak is teaching Solomon how to satisfy a woman. And she's telling him, rose here, a licky lick, the cockermill, to Dalit, and what he's doing is trying to get in. When the man's down there licking at the cockermill, what he's doing, he's trying to make a door. He's trying to get away in. The rose here, the courage, to encourage him in from the lick as where in the hood, the beretta from. He's licking on the hood to encourage him in. And so how fair and how pleasant you are is from the M-E, from the type, the T-Y-P, the T-Y-P-Y. And then the dot and the Y tells me to grab the A underneath, the T-Y-P, the type Y-A, and then F-I-T. The type you fit. You can see it right there, you fit. Yeah, you'll do, you'll be fair. And from the type you fit, and two T's, the mark up here, so it's the type you fit to, and then me, the type you fit to me. From the type you fit to me, time, T-Y-M, the time of in, O is of, and then an I above, I-N, and then the type of in. And from the type you fit to me, time of in. You're the type that I could spend some time with. How fair and how pleasant you are. Oh, what a pretty little rose. And then the A underneath of A, and then a O-I, a oi is a call, a oi mit, a oi with. And then the I is reading with this A-E, and the A-E turns into a E-S. And so this is the time of in, a call with yes, Y-E-S, the yes be. And that's the love. When you're doing it right, she says, yes, yes. And then the but of on, the B-O-T, the but, that's the old spelling of but. We're seeing it up above. Every time it said but, it was a B-O-T. And the but, and then underneath the O-V of, the but of, and then O-N, the but of on, and then a gym, a G-Y-M, the butt of on a gym. The place where you're working out, the butt of on a gym, with your delights on that ass. That ass. That means that thing that you're talking about, that thing that you point at, that. Give me some of that. And that comet kicked, Q-O-U-M-T, that comet kick, K-I-K-D, kicked, and underneath is an A-V, the kicked of mit, of with, and helped, H-L-T, the helped my, and the roos, roosadick, and that comet kicked with helped my roosadick, a roos, R-U-S, ruse, meaning action intended to deceive, coming from the old ruse, meaning backwards, trickery. Oh, you done roosed the wrong hole there, that's the back. That comet kicked. And they're getting this stature from the word height. And the word height is come to. Hey, what you coming to these days, you know? And it's, you just spelt the Qumta or TU, the come to. You know, at the height of a performance is what it come to. But you see this only used one time, like most of these words in here. You just make it all up. And that come it kicked of mit, of with helped my ruse a dick. You know, a Dickens, you know, well, ain't he the Dickens? A little shit starter, you know. My ruse a dick. And the I reading over here, the dickle. You know, the dickle, the Dickens. The dickle cycle out. SYKOLOUT. And then this is the toughest line in here, over here. I'm going to shoot at it. I don't know, I might have to post this and watch it a couple times. But this is amor. You know, amor is love. They say it's the word. But it's amor too. You know, the TA is two. And then the J, reading back over here, the jam. Amor to jam right. Ya all have it. My ratches. You know, my and ratches. This is where your word ratchet come from. You know, to get a toe hold on the footboard, you know, and ratchet in a little deeper. And a more to jam right. Ya all have it. My ratches. And then got a grip and ratchet up in there deeper. And this is the toughest part through here. But I think this is by and sins, SNS. And then you see the N, and underneath is a AV, and then a Y. And the sins of the Navy, you know, there's only men on the boat. That's butt fucking. By sins Navy. And then two vowels here. And I believe that's reading as a UV, is of, which is an old way of writing of in English. But in Swedish, they'll say it's where the bobo come from. You know, bobo is the long-eared owl. And I talked about that in several past movies. But bobo is the marker that sits on the serpent's tail over there around Virgo. By sins the navy of yea. You know, let there be light. Yea. Yeas means let there be. Yes, we vote yes. And of yea, to let there be vana. Vana is habit. You know, a regularly done action. By sin's navy of let be vana, of regularly. The sadik dick. The sadik is a friend, you know, a friend's dick. Sadik, coming from that area of the world. Arabic, meaning a friend, loyal, trustworthy. You know, a regular. Make it a regular of a friend's dick. And Kai, K-I-A, is the one that got me stumped. It's so many different words that it could be. But if you break it down in just the letters, you know, it's to give the, you know, the giving hands, to give the power, the cycle out, to give a cycle out. The gigapon. This is almost right, you know, the H is the E, the, and put an I between there, the gigapon. And what it is, this dot here tells you two G's. So you're reading the G and then the upper mark, and then the G again, and then the lower mark. And it's the G-I-G-H or E upon, the gigapon. And so it could be a one-night stand, or a gig is also, you know, harpoon, the gigapon. Where itch. And so an itch is a plant. That's where you word 19, COVID-19, that's what that means. A COVID is to give a sheep, to give Ovid, give Ovid, the sheep. And an itch is a 19, it's a plant. Like if you're going to pitch a tent, that's where that comes from, to itch, to plant it. And that's what it was all about, to give everybody a plant in their arm. And so the gig upon, where itch, where plant, epic, a long story. the cat of, Kotof, the cat of Poochie, the cat of Poochie. And so this P can change from a P to a F. And she might be looking at the cat and OF of fuckum, the cat of fuckum, which wouldn't leave your breath smelling like apples. Or the cod of, Kotof, the cod of fuckum, in the long cod of fuckum. And so this reads a couple more times. You see all the extra marks, and it reads different when you read these bottom marks, and if you read it with no marks at all. And if I go back and read it the other two ways, it'll clear a lot of this up. But the mit, the mit is with and helped. And so it might be saying that he withheld the abuse because he wanted to make it of Vana, a regular friendly dick, a Sadik a dick, a regular, a Vana Sadik a dick, a regular friendly dick. But from experience reading the rest of it, it tells me that it reads the three different ways. And usually, one way he's a nice guy, and the other way he's the devil. In the third way, she'll be busted on him like, yeah, you did all that, but wasn't nothing like what your brother did. And what changes it, you'll read it one time with reading all the vowel points underneath like they have up here. And then you'll read it one time with these directional markings underneath that have you change this, and from where itch, it then turns into, where itch rich, where plant rich, and that's where this fragrance is coming from. And like here, it's going to change this up. You won't be doubling this up anymore. And so it'll be amor to and ya and aloha, amor hello. And then in that first movie I did, I read all this from 9 down, and you can catch that there. And I'm gonna go watch all three of these myself and see what I catch. And I might just be able to read the whole thing at one time and make better sense of it.
I am the Antichrist, and I approve of this message.